no perfect man. I'm trying to do the best that I can with what it is I have. I ain't no perfect man. I'm trying to do the best that I can with what it is I have. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Don't Watch That Podcast. It's your boy Bloodshot with
House of L.
and thanks for tuning in once again for another podcast. Today we're going to be talking about pretty touching subject. We're going to be talking about some of the recent celebrities and influential people who have died. Some legendary people in our side of history that have passed within the past couple of years or so, up until today.
But more notably 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, definitely more notably 2020. 2020, as we can all agree, has been a crazy year. And part of that, unfortunately, has been the passing of a lot of very influential people. First of which is, of course, Kobe Bryant, the legend himself.
And his daughter.
As well as the rest of the people on board that fatal crash. Super, super sad story. It's one of those stories where it has you thinking for months on end. Up until this day.
And it's already been 1 year since he died.
Literally. He died in, I believe, January 2020.
26.
Yeah. January 26th and Thursday 28th. So crazy. I remember, I don't remember if I was at work or home, but seeing that news, it's one of those things you see and you don't believe it, even though you're seeing it, It's just
it happened so suddenly you couldn't really process it.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Like, I remember seeing the post and then saying that's fake, and then scrolling down and seeing another one. I'm saying, okay, this is kind of weird. And just within 5 to 10 minutes of scrolling social media, just every single account I had followed was just talking about this, and I was
and then
like,
there
this
was
cannot be real.
Videos and stuff of it too.
Literally, that was so hard. I think when they released the audio of the pilot, and everything like that, and how he was coordinating with his, I guess the tower or whatever you want to call it, that he has to correspond with, and they released that video that was, him with the conversation, the dialogue, and how he thought everything was okay, and then all of a sudden, just like that, they dropped off the map. Like that sent chills down my spine for sure. I know that had the same effect on a lot of other people as well. So yeah, super, super, super tragic. And I remember there was a video that came out pretty shortly after that about Kobe's wife and other kids, and I couldn't even bring myself to watch it. I'll be honest, it was just too heartfelt. It was just too heart wrenching, I should say. But apparently it was a video of her, saying her last remarks and everything like that about the whole incident. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I can't, like, what do you do? Like, what does the wife do? How do you go on from that? She's now left with, I think it was 2 kids, right?
Yep.
Just like that. No father, and she lost a kid. Or no husband, and no other daughter. Like, that's I could not imagine that.
She had no time to grieve at all, given the status of who Kobe Bryant was in today's society.
Exactly. It literally, like, hitting like a truck doesn't even begin to describe what she might have been feeling at that moment. Like, the pain, the suffering, the shock, the animosity, just everything wrapped up into one, just all hit all at once.
The amount of pressure that was on her to make a statement.
Literally, I remember so many people were saying, like, when is she gonna make a statement? What's she gonna say or whatever? And then I was like, yo, like this just like, she just lost her husband and child. There's no way she's gonna say anything right now.
What can you say in that moment, right?
Literally, like, she's so hurt she doesn't even know how to hurt and how to feel. Like, that's crazy.
She's probably still in shock.
Yeah,
processing the deaths of her loved ones.
Absolutely, right? Man.
She's losing a husband and she's losing a daughter.
Like, Oh, I just. mm. So, anyways, that was the beginning of the year. So that's. uh that was a good start to the year. And then jumping to closer to the end of the year, of course, we had yet another legend, Chadwick Boseman, um, who of course played Black Panther in the Marvel movies, passed away from stage 4 cancer. And I think, as has been said many times before by many people, I think the craziest thing about that whole story is the fact that he was struggling with this behind doors, behind closed doors, right? Without anybody knowing.
He was suffering it when he was still acting.
Absolutely. And that's what's sad is because there was a lot of people making fun of his state, right? He did a video, one of the last videos he ever did online. People were making fun of him because he was really skinny and looking really thin. And of course, it came out later that he had cancer. And so it's like, it just really put emphasis on the fact that you cannot judge a book by its cover. You don't know what people are going through until you really, really know. Um, so that was a huge eye opener for sure. Um, that one hurt too. I think I was done. Like I checked out for the day too. That one, though, that and Kobe, I was done. I couldn't. And even though they were literally almost a year apart, like Chadwick died. When did he die?
He died in August,
In August, right? Close to
on the
September.
28th.
Yeah, like right. Right when summer's ending and everything like that. And I remember that. Like I still remember to this day, like thinking like this isn't real. Just like the Kobe thing. There's no way. This
He was
can't be real.
diagnosed with cancer in 2016
Exactly. Manson's fighting it for 4 years by himself silently. Only
at
his family
stage
knew.
3.
Like, uh, what kind of a person you got to be fighting cancer while still doing movies, visiting people in hospitals, making donations, being a black rights activist, and then going home and taking chemotherapy? Are you kidding me right now? That this dude is literally a hero in his own right. The man was a hero on screen and a hero off screen. That's crazy to me. That's actually absolutely dumbfounding. Just crazy. Really, really wholesome dude. A guy that loved his family, loved his wife, loved his job. He loved kids. Um, he did a lot for the black community. Um, just a general and a genuine, really, really, really good human.
He had very humble beginnings.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington,
Yep.
of course.
Yep. Gave him his big break and sent him off to, I think it was university, I believe.
Yeah.
Pay for his tuition. I could not imagine how Denzel's feeling. I couldn't. I couldn't do it. Man sent off a future legend off to school, and now he's gone. Before Denzel, who's a lot older. Uh, I still right now, it still pulls at my heartstrings, even though it's been, a good few months. So yeah, so that's that. John Witherspoon. Um, some of y'all might know him as Granddad in the Boondocks. Some of y'all might know him as the dad in, I don't remember his name unfortunately, but the dad in Friday. And he's played a lot of other roles as well. Um, super super sad as well. They were actually in the process of doing Boondocks season 5, I want to say 5, and then he passed. And then of course they stopped production because you can't have you can't continue that when one of the main characters is gone, right? And also, even if he wasn't a main character, out of respect, you know.
Of course.
Um,
That's a given.
yeah, absolutely. Man was such a personality, like on and off screen. He's such a big personality on screen. I remember he was such a funny guy, man. Like his comedy and the way he carried himself in his roles were just absolutely, just so captivating. Um, and I
Was
love
one of
watching him on the
those
big screen.
very influential people for us millennials.
Absolutely, for
We
sure.
grew up with him as
Yep,
an actor and a comedian.
yep, exactly. Um, and then of course, you got another person from that same movie Friday, Tommy Tiny Lister.
Hmm.
Debo, as his name was in the movie. Um, he was also really humble dude. He was the definition of a gentle giant. Dude was huge, but a really, really, really respectful and nice dude. Um, and yet he's gone too, right? Yet another one. Um, I believe he died. He died with COVID, did he not? I believe. I believe he died with complications of COVID. I'll have to research that later, but I believe so. And it's just like it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. COVID really just took a lot of people from us. Um, and speaking of which, closer to the end of last year as well, that another person that COVID took was MF Doom. Absolute legend. Absolute legend in his own right. Um, the man was considered the greatest rhymer of all time. Period. No doubt about it. No beating around the bush. Nobody even came close. He was the greatest. Like this was your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. Um,
He was only
I
49 too.
49. Um, just so young, so young. I can't imagine that. Um, he
That says a
actually
lot
died.
about COVID too, right?
Exactly.
No one is truly safe.
Yeah. Um, now, now that I remember, I'm not 1000% sure that it was COVID, but I believe that's what people were speculating. Um, but what's crazy is, yeah, like he actually died October 31st on Halloween, but the media didn't know about it until I think it was November or December. No, it was pretty much the last week of 2020. I remember.
It's all speculations about how he died, but
Yeah,
I think it's
I believe
most
it was
safe to
COVID too.
assume it's COVID,
Yeah, most likely.
especially since he's in the UK. He's a British rapper, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And the UK strain is much more contagious.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, just couldn't believe it. That one hit me really hard too, especially because personally I'm really into hip hop and rap, as you are too, House of L. And seeing someone like that leave the scene, passing away from whatever for whatever reason, passing away, especially at that age, is just it's just gut wrenching because that is someone who pushed rap and hip hop to its absolute boundaries and beyond, and made rap as prominent as it is today. Man
He
was an
was a
absolute legend.
pioneer, to say the least, right?
Exactly, absolutely. Um, at least in the terms of rhyming and sentence structure and wordplay, far ahead anybody of that time. Man was way ahead of his time. Um, and he was able to push the boundaries of hip hop and make it to what it is today. So losing someone like that, as influential as that in the hip hop scene, is it's just detrimental. It hits really really hard. It hits really really hard. So that was a hard one for sure too. Um, John Lewis died in, I believe, July 2020. Um, I don't even know if anything needs to be said about him. Um, he did the walk across the bridge, which I'm drawing a blank on right now, but he's one of the biggest leaders in Black rights history to begin with, like just across the board. He's up there with Martin Luther King. In fact, one of his good friends, C.T. Vivian, who also passed away within, I think, the same week actually as him, um, was the civil rights leader and field general for Martin Luther King Jr. So these are all legendary dudes that have pushed, the civil rights movement forward at astounding rates. and have made such huge progress. Sorry, in the way of Black history and activism. Um, these three individuals were just absolutely remarkable. Um, they faced challenges that people wouldn't even face head on, wouldn't even remotely think about that. Um, so losing some people, people like John Lewis and C.T. Vivian, it just, as a person of color myself, super saddening for sure. But you know what? At the end of the day, they did their part. They made their stride. They made America a better place, and in turn, the world a better place because of them, and their work. So you have to appreciate that, right? You have to be really grateful for that fact. That even though they're gone now, they did their time. They pushed movements forward. They made a lot of good change, and the world is grateful for that fact.
He'll
So,
always be remembered through our textbooks.
yeah, that's it, man. That's just it. Um, Huge part of history, absolutely huge. Um, and then speaking of rights and movements and things like that, you had Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who,
RBG, yo,
yeah, who passed away last year as well. Um, the Supreme
due
Court
to
justice and women's
cancer.
rights pioneer, and yeah, to cancer. She was, on this side we had John Lewis, Martin Luther King Jr., C.T. Vivian, stuff like that. On the women's rights side of things, you had Ruth, who is a huge pioneer and spearheaded a lot of women's rights movements and activism causes. Uh,
She
so
was a
again,
champion of justice for
exactly,
females
yep,
out there, you know.
exactly. So really, really sorry to see her go too. Again, same thing. Huge part of history. Really, really pushed the boundaries and made really, really good changes. Um, I feel like good isn't even, a good enough word. Um, really outstanding and astounding changes for women's rights. So very, very, very huge figure that passed away unfortunately last year. Um, Now on to more, I guess, lighthearted passings. David Prowse, the original actor behind the voice and mask of Darth Vader in the original Star Wars trilogy. Um, he passed, I think it was last year as well, due to cancer. I want to say. Um, yeah. I mean, what else? He's Darth Vader. That's a lot of people's
Yeah.
favorite character. You say Star Wars, you instantly think Darth Vader. That's just, you know what I mean? Like he's one of the most talked about, if not the most talked about characters in that entire franchise. Period. To date, any conversation you talk about includes Darth Vader. So,
And
rest
on
in
the
peace to him.
lines of Star Wars, we also want to say rest in paradise to Grant Amahara, who was an
Mm,
electrical engineer, right?
yeah,
He also
exactly.
worked on the production and
Yep,
effects of Star Wars.
yep,
He improved R2D2.
literally,
Iconic.
absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean, that's just it, right? He played a huge role in it, even if it was, maybe not on the big screen, but he was a big role in making the movie work, right? Um, and yeah, that's just what it is. Um, so yeah, so super sad about that passing, for sure as well. Um, Now a lot of you might know, I have been playing the drums for about 10 years on and off. Um, and this one hits home for me too. Neil Pert, one of the greatest drummers to ever grace this earth, one of the most legendary drummers ever to walk this earth, has passed as well last year. I don't remember to what exactly. I think it was, oh, it was brain cancer. That's what it was. Um, And yeah, so he passed last year too. And oh, I remember in high school, you know, talking with all my boys, that also played drums, and we would always watch videos from Pert and drum solos and fills and licks and a bunch of different stuff. And he's unmatched, absolutely unmatched. His technical prowess, not even to mention just his kit setup, how massive it was. I think I believe had the biggest kit ever known to man, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, absolute legend for sure in his own right. Really, really pushed the boundaries of drumming and the musical world as a whole. So yeah, legend doesn't even begin to describe who he was. So rest in power to him as well. And then another legend as well in the terms of music, Eddie Van Halen.
Of
Um,
course.
of course, the legendary Eddie Van Halen, and Van Halen as a whole. Obviously, I know they're going to be missing him. I believe he died to COVID, if I'm not mistaken.
Um,
I don't remember. I'll have to research that. Um, but uh, yeah, I keep using the word legend, but that's who these people are, right? Um, they're absolute legends in their own rights, in their own respective fields, if you will, or walks of life. Um,
he
so
passed due to a stroke,
a stroke, and yeah, I'm reading that now too. Yeah. So
and he was battling lung cancer. But
yeah,
I
he also
mean,
had tongue cancer a good few times as well.
so,
Um,
COVID isn't out of the play given these circumstances.
yeah, true. It could have potentially been the last nail in the coffin, for sure. No pun intended. But yeah, lung cancer. It's
Yeah.
just cancer. I don't like. Uh,
A lot of the older people who did pass were due to cancer.
yeah. Cancer is, you know, it's a killer. That's just what it is, right? There's so many people have passed because of cancer, and it doesn't matter how much money we put into research. It just seems that we're not getting anywhere. Obviously we are, but it just seems that with the amount of people that keep passing from cancer, it's like, you know, we need to make more strides. Another person who died of cancer, um, that was, everybody knew him, Alex Trebek, the host of Jeopardy, the original host of Jeopardy, or yeah, Jeopardy.
Yeah,
Um,
that at age 80.
age 87, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
I don't
80.
think he was that old.
No, he was. I believe he was 87. I researched it the other day. Um, oh no, 80. Yeah, you're right. He looked really good for an 80-year-old man. He looked really
Yeah,
good for 80. Especially because he was battling cancer. That's the
yeah.
craziest thing, right? Usually, cancer, if you're doing the chemotherapy, usually, you lose your hair and all that, and you start to
Well, the
look
same thing can
thin.
be
And
said for RBG too, right?
well, exactly. Yeah.
Funny
Um,
enough, they both suffered from the same cancer, pancreatic, right?
yep, pancreatic. And he also had stage 4 for quite a while too. He was battling it for quite some time before it came out into the light. And he still kept doing his shows and still kept doing everything, and he looked as healthy as ever while battling cancer. And unfortunately, lost the battle. Last year, November 8th. So yeah, rest in peace to him as well. I mean, the show just won't be the same. It I think it started in the early '60s. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere around there. I know he's been doing a lot of different shows, but it's been a good few decades, and losing that host, it's not going to be the same. I didn't watch it a whole lot, but when I did watch it, um, it was a familiar face, right? Seeing somebody that every single time, okay, this is Jeopardy, this is whatever, right? Um,
It
it
started 1984.
84. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's what, 3 decades almost. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's three, almost 4 decades. Yeah. So like he's been doing it, and of course he did other stuff before that too. So he's been in show business for a while. Um, but yeah, rest in peace to Alex Trebek. Um, Now somebody else who's kind of off the beaten path of what we're talking about here in terms of show business and stuff. Cindy Mandela, Nelson Mandela's youngest daughter, passed away as well. Um, I didn't do a full amount of research on exactly what happened with her, but I just thought I would mention that too because, as we know, Nelson Mandela was a huge black rights activist and just a very very humble guy that tried to see the good in people and try to make the right decisions so that people could live their lives in peace. Went to jail for literally just protesting and trying to make his country a better place. um, Came out and still did the same thing. Like, that's someone with resolve. So obviously, I thought it was appropriate to mention that his daughter had passed as well. um, And on to the next one here. Kenny Rogers,
Hmm.
legendary singer, has passed as well. I think he passed last year. Don't remember to what cause, but he did unfortunately pass as well. Um, I remember the very funny show Archer. Uh, he One of my favorite scenes from that from that show revolves around one of the songs that Kenny Rogers sings called "Danger Zone," and I love that scene because of how it's executed, but also because of um, Kenny Rogers himself and the song and how much influence it has in that show actually. On the main character Archer, Sterling Archer, I should say. So, anyways, yeah, he passed. So rest in peace to him as well.
And
Um,
speaking of shows, we can't not talk about Larry King, who recently passed.
oh yes, oh that was oh man, yeah, I think it was just coming in the door from work when I heard the news about that. Um, I think he started in CNN. It was
For
80,
over
84, 80 something.
25 years.
Yeah, over 25 years. Um, that he's been running Larry King Live on that show, and then he left 2010, I want to say, to pursue a different path or to retire, one of the two. Um,
He was essentially a broadcaster for 63 long years.
yep, yep, and a few other um, different shows. One of which of course was his own Larry King Live for 25 years. So yeah, these are all people that I grew up with, familiar faces. Looking at the TV, seeing CNN and seeing Larry King was like, okay, another familiar face. He's doing his thing, and yeah. And now these people that we grew up with are gone, just like that. Life really has no guarantees. Mind you, he was pretty old, pretty up there in the age, but it still hurts nonetheless. So
Yeah.
yeah, rest in peace to him. Um,
Which brings us to Regis Philbin, who also was a very, very legendary TV host.
mhm, agree. Oh, all these TV hosts, man. TV is not going to be the same.
It
That's
won't
for
be.
sure.
Today's
Um,
generation will be missing out on some of these very legendary acts and hosts.
mhm, that's for sure. That's for sure. Um, Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Everybody knows that name, of course. He lost his father last year, I believe, to was it natural causes? He was pretty up there in the age. So he lost his father. Um, and then Sylvester Stallone, somebody else in that same level of stature, lost his mother, Jackie Stallone. Um, Losing a parent, I can't even imagine that. My parents are, going on 60 soon, And as they get up in age every day, I think more and more every day about you know in their 80s and 90s, and they're eventually going to pass, what it's going to feel like. It's going to hurt a lot. It's going to be very emotional, obviously, as any death is, for sure. But just thinking about not having my parents in my life, it's a real eye opener, right? um
especially since you've only known them alive your whole life,
exactly. And then losing
and
them
you have to live the rest of your life without them
without them is,
is something you have to really give time to process.
yeah. And yeah, I mean, even with processing, some people still can't get over that fact. How do you ever get over a parent's death or even a family member's death overall? um I
One day
just,
at a time.
yeah, right, that's all you can do. Move forward, one foot in front of the other, and try to heal the pain one day at a time. um doesn't make it any less painful while doing so, but yeah. So I just think about that from time to time. God forbid anything happens to them, because they're getting up there in age, but they still got another 20, 30 years hopefully in my life, and I'm really grateful for that. But when that time comes, I know it's going to be rough, as with anybody else's parents. So
It's definitely rough now for those who are losing their parents to COVID.
yeah, because it's not even natural causes or anything, right? It's nothing that, it's pretty much out of their control for the most part. You can do what you can, but if this didn't happen, a lot of people wouldn't have lost a lot of family members.
It's almost guaranteed that if one parent dies, the other is gonna follow,
Yeah. Yep.
given the statistics that are given right now with COVID.
Exactly, with COVID. So yeah, just, oh, so heart wrenching. Um,
My
but
heart goes out to all those who've lost a parent
yep,
during these trying times.
yep, for sure, for sure. Um, just super somber and eye opening. Um, but moving on now to Andre Harrell. Um, he in the hip hop scene is a legend himself, because uh, he was one who formed Uptown Records, a very, very legendary record label, um, and became the leader of hip hop, R&B, and their fusion, New Jack Swing, which was a fusion between hip hop and R&B, mixed into one. A lot of hip hop and R&B artists in back in the '80s weren't, they didn't really like each other, because they had two opposing styles and uh, and musical tastes, if you will. And this record, Andre Harrell and also Teddy Riley, really helped mesh those two together and make it one, kind of genre called New Jack Swing, which mixed elements of love and those softer type beats with, of course, the hard boom bap hip hop. And when you put that together, uh, it was a crazy fun time. As many of y'all know, I'm a dancer personally, um, and I one of the dances I like to do is New Jack Swing. So uh, I just imagine, what would be, or what would, you know become of hip hop, or New Jack Swing, if people like Andre Harrell and Teddy Riley weren't there to usher in that new age and mesh that together, mesh those two genres together. So yeah, so very, very legendary producer there. He worked with people like Diddy. He was actually the one who gave Diddy his big break. He signed him to his label, and obviously, as we know, Diddy's still one of the most prominent and highly paid artists of all time period in any genre. Um, So, that says a lot about the skills and the just the technical prowess and influence that somebody like Andre had to the scene, as well as Teddy Riley. Um, so yeah, that's yeah, these are pioneers, right? Pioneers of hip hop. Um, Hip hop as we know nowadays, even though a lot of it now is unfortunately mumble, um, it wouldn't even be what it is now, whether mumble or not, without people like Andre. So yeah, mentioning another person who lost their parent, Ben Stiller lost his dad, Jerry Stiller,
Mm.
last year. I think he was actually one of the only ones on this list to die of natural causes. I think he died. I think he was at 87 or something like that. I think he was actually the one that was 87. And he died of natural causes. So rest in peace to him. At least he went out, in a peaceful way and not, to complications due to, COVID or anything else like cancer or something else of the nature. Um, so yeah, rest in peace to him. I know Ben is still obviously going to be dealing with that emotionally and mentally for pretty much the rest of his life, right? So
At least he lived a very full life of 92 years.
exactly, exactly. Was it 92?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I swear somebody on this list was 87. There's a lot of people, man. There's a lot of people. Um,
I think it was Larry King that was 87.
okay, that's probably who I'm thinking of. Yeah, and especially because it was recent, so that's probably why I have that number stuck in my head so much. But yeah, rest in peace to him for sure. Um, Peter Green, um, the founder of a legendary band, the Fleetwood Mac. Um, he was the founder and guitarist of that band. Many of you might know the song "Dreams" or "You Can Go Your Own Way" or maybe "Gypsy." Any of those songs, those were done by Fleetwood Mac. This band, their album "Dreams," I believe it was called, um, was one of the most one of the top selling albums of all time in any genre period. I believe it was 6 on Rolling Stone's chart, um, which is insane. Um, the album sold like hotcakes. It was absolutely insane. Um, so the founder and guitarist Peter Green has unfortunately passed away, too. So rest in peace to him. Rest in power to him. Um, yeah, legendary, very legendary group, um, in terms of classic rock. Um, yeah, another huge artist. Uh, at least in Jamaica, I'm Jamaican, as a lot of you might know. Um, at least that's my heritage, anyways. Frederick Hibbert, or Frederick Toots, quote unquote, Hibbert, um, the lead vocalist for the reggae and ska band Toots and Tails, Madels, um, passed away unfortunately. Um, they were one of the biggest pioneers of reggae that helped push it forward alongside Bob Marley and people like that. So losing someone like that too, that's really, really pioneered something like reggae, which is, heard a lot of places around the world, is pretty rough. It's pretty rough for sure. Um, so rest in power to you as well. Thank you for, I guess your service and uh, your technical prowess and your musical influence on the scene, on music as a whole,
On history.
and yeah, you will definitely do this for sure. Um, I don't know if you have any points about that, Houseville. I'm not sure how into reggae you are, um, but yeah, just super sad. Um, let's see, who do you have next on your list there, Ivan? Houseville, I should say.
Uh, let's talk about the famous Scottish actor known as Sean Connery.
Yeah.
You may know him from his role of the as the original James Bond,
Mm-hmm.
and he passed at age 90.
Mm-hmm. He was up there.
Those who grew up with James Bond know who this legend is.
Absolutely. You can't not. Um, oh man, just super, super sad. All these legends are dying out, man. One by one. Oh shoot. Um let me see. Kirby Morrow. Oh, he is a huge one, at least in the nerd side of things, if you will. Um, he played characters like Goku in the Ocean dub, Cyclops from X-Men Evolution, and a multitude of others in a lot of different works, cartoons, anime, you name it. He's done so much with his career. He played Michelangelo in Ninja Turtles. Um, he played he played so many characters, and losing a voice actor like that is it's really sad and humbling because you're gonna see that character on screen, and they're gonna have a different voice actor now.
Yeah,
And then every time you think about why they have a different voice actor, you're gonna know and you're gonna remember that's because that original voice actor passed away, unfortunately. Um, and that stings. I don't know about you, Helseville, but that stings a lot.
it's
Um,
definitely hard on the person who has to come in and replace the actor.
Absolutely, because they have a huge role to fill.
They're
Um,
forever in their shadow,
yeah,
right?
forever in the shadow. Sorry, shower. uh, yeah, forever in the shadow, trying to do just as good, if not better, of a
While
performance
still trying to honor them and
while
their
still trying to honor them.
character.
Exactly. Um, so yeah, rest in peace to him as well. Um, you can't even read his list of things. He's been in so many. So his influence reached far and wide in the animated scene, I guess. Uh, yeah, rest in power to you, Kirby Morrow. Um, Another really humbling thing is I actually met him in person. I had the pleasure of meeting him with some of my friends at Anime North a couple of years ago in Toronto. So that just adds that extra layer to it, is of realism, of the fact that I met this legend, and now he's passed away a couple of years ago, or sorry, a couple of years later, I should say. My best friend, she couldn't take it. She basically broke down because she was like, I literally took a picture with him and everything, and he's so nice and friendly. He signed a bunch of stuff for her, and then just like that, 2 years later, gone. Like, I can't even imagine that. I mean, I guess technically that affected me too. Um, yeah, just oh man,
He was still so young too.
absolutely, man, so young. Um, he died at 47, man.
Yeah, 47.
47. I just, uh, unfortunately, it was due to long history of substance abuse, and it's never easy trying to break those habits. So I do sympathize and empathize with people that unfortunately try to escape life's problems with things like alcohol and drugs. It's always sad when you lose someone like that, um, knowing that they could have had a very different life depending on the situations that they would have faced. So yeah, man, I don't know. It stings. It stings for sure. Um, I know, Ivan, you wanted to talk about Kenzo.
Hmm. Iconic in the Japanese and fashion industry. Of course, Kenzo was known for his iconic tiger and his eccentric and very bright uses of Japanese fashion implemented in such a modern way. He was ahead of his time when he started, right?
Yep. Oh man. Mm. Yeah, and his designs and the quality and everything of his products, as far as I'm aware of, have just been insane. Like just as top of the line gets.
He had over 8,000 designs.
That's that's crazy. Like that's a passion right there. There's a difference between walk of life and something that you like, a hobby, and then a passion where you devote your whole life to it, and try to bring it to the rest of the world as well. Like it'd be one thing if he was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep this in Japan and uh, share this with my people, but he decided to bring it to the rest of the world, and now.
He brought it to France, I believe, in the 60s,
Mhm.
and that's how he essentially became a pioneer.
Yeah, exactly, because he branched out, right? He did it. He brought it to other countries, other foreign countries, and they're like, "What's this?" And just kind of revolve from there. So that's yeah, pioneer, like you said.
That seems to be the consensus for those who've passed.
Yep, that's it, man. Um, it's yeah, like I said, it's one thing to share it with your close people and maybe your race or ethnicity, whatever you want to call it, but to bring it to the rest of the world and still have the same amount of success, if not more, means that you did something right. If other cultures are vibing with what you're bringing from your culture, that is that's something special right there. That's something special.
Especially in the era that he chose to break into.
Exactly. It must have been really hard, right? Nowadays it would have been like, okay, cool, you have the internet and this and that, whatever. But back then, man, jeez,
Especially being a person of color that's Japanese,
yeah,
going over to France,
oh,
not understanding the language and breaking into that industry
literally,
where there were already pioneers in fashion
yep,
to excel in that field.
oh man, oh yeah, man, all these legendary pioneers that pushed the boundaries of whatever topic, music, fashion, design, art, technology, everything. All these people,
History, life,
yeah, history, life, exactly. Just overall pioneers. Um, so yeah, just yeah, super, super sombering, super, super humbling, and it's just at the end of the day, like I was saying, these people were legendary in their own right, and of course they're passed away now, but you have to be grateful for the gifts that they gave to the world and the skills that they gave to the world so that people could advance in whatever that field was and bring it to where we are today, right? January 28th, 2021. um that's that's a special gift to be able to say that you were part of doing that, ushering a new age in whatever your field is. So even though these legends are passed away, we thank them all for you know their role on history and their advancements to history, and we just pray that they rest in peace, in power, and that their legacy lives on, right?
and that with their passing, we're able to reflect on our own lives.
Yeah,
in
Exactly.
their respect.
Yeah.
While cherishing the loved ones we have now
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well
and
said.
learning to appreciate the things we have before it's gone.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing. You really, really got to appreciate the things you have in front of you right now, um, and just realize that life is short, man. Life has no guarantees. If there's anything that 2020 has taught us, it's that life has absolutely no guarantees. Doesn't matter who you are, what your status is, how much money you have, what car you drive, who you know, who you don't know. It does not matter. Death comes for all the same, and you leave it all here on Earth. And that is a huge um it's a huge fact. It's a huge fact that you have to live with and then unfortunately die with. Um, so yeah, with that, uh, I'd say that pretty much wraps up uh, this podcast for tonight. Um, at this time, we'd like to take a quick 1 minute moment of silence for all the people who have passed away that we've mentioned, just out of a sign of respect. So we'll do that starting now. All right. That's the end of the minute. Thanks so much for doing that with us. Means a lot. I think it's very important. Um, I think it was very important for us to do that to show respect. Just a very sombering podcast. I know we've had two kind of very emotional podcasts in a row, but I think these things need to be said before moving on to more lighthearted things because these are very important topics to talk about. I think,
Of course.
and respects needed to be paid. So now that they're paid, we can just fortunately move on and push forward, and make bigger strides to do better in life, and hopefully we can have some more lighthearted podcasts in the future. Savell?
We just gotta live life 1 mile at a time.
Yeah. 1 mile at a time. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, with that, thank everybody for tuning in to Don't Watch That. This has been your boy Bloodshot.
And House of L.
And we'll catch y'all next time. Have a good one. Peace.